Hello, good evening. I am Ajit Jha, CEO of Power Pixar, and today we are going to make a video analyzing what happened in the Delhi Assembly elections. 2 weeks ago, I had made a video which some of you might have seen was called "The Rise and Fall of Arvind Kejriwal," in which my basic argument was that the way the Congress party and the Aam Aadmi party were fighting with each other, the three cornered contest in Delhi, the Aam Aadmi party, Congress party, and the Bharatiya Janata party, this fighting between AAP and Congress, both of them are technically members of the India bloc, is going to benefit the BJP. And my prediction turned out to be true. So if you look at what happened in terms of the results, uh, there are three stories here. One, the story that I pointed out, which is that the way the Congress and the AAP were at each other's throats throughout the campaign, and this started actually much earlier. This started during the Haryana Assembly polls. Remember, in the Lok Sabha 2024 polls, the AAP and the Congress were allies in Delhi. Of course, they were allies. The AAP contested 4 seats, the Congress contested 3 seats. Yet the alliance did not help, and the BJP ended up winning all 7 seats. But we had seen in the past that voters in Delhi would always vote, majority would always vote BJP in the Lok Sabha 2014, 2019, 2024, and they would vote Arvind Kejriwal in the Delhi Assembly. So it was basically Modi in Lok Sabha, AAP or Arvind Kejriwal in in the Delhi Assembly. Now, this is called either dual voting, or it can also be called a very large section of Delhi's electors, voters, were essentially free floating voters. They would vote Modi in the center and Kejriwal in the state. Now, so that's what happened in the Lok Sabha. But then the alliance began fighting. And in Haryana Assembly election, the Congress and the AAP did not uh, sort of do a pre-poll alliance. In fact, the fault over there was basically with Congress, because Bhupender Singh Hooda, the leader of the Congress in Haryana, he was so sure of winning that assembly election on his own that he refused to have an alliance with Kejriwal, with AAP, despite the central leadership of the Congress party, led by Rahul Gandhi, wanting to have that alliance. And they finally could not have the alliance. And what happened? You saw the result. The BJP won. The Congress lost with, of course, a minimal margin, 120,000 votes. In fact, almost less than 1%. And the same thing again happened, a tit for tat. Arvind Kejriwal said, I will go solo in the assembly election. I'm going to win it. I will not ally with the Congress. I think there were attempts made by the central leadership, especially Rahul Gandhi, but Kejriwal did not listen to anyone. You know, the typical arrogance of Arvind Kejriwal. He was so sure of winning it again for not the third, but the fourth time, because after all, he had formed the government even in 2013. If you remember, even though BJP and Shiromani Akali Dal had more numbers, but they could not cross the magic mark of 36, which you need in a 70-member assembly in Delhi. So Arvind Kejriwal and the Congress had an alliance in 2013. Of course, that government was short-lived, only 49 days. Arvind Kejriwal resigned. Then there was president's rule. And then Arvind Kejriwal won twice with overwhelming majorities, 2015, 2020. And now he's fallen from grace. So look at the reason. Let me just hint at the reason which I had predicted, and that is in 13 assembly seats of Delhi this time. If you look at the difference between the winner, which is the BJP, and the runner-up, which is the AAP, the gap is so narrow. And if you look at the Congress percentage vote, or the Congress vote in those constituencies, it is much more than this tight, narrow margin, which leads you to believe that arithmetically, if the AAP and Congress had had an alliance in this election, probably they would have come back to up, would have come back to power in alliance with the Congress. BJP again would have been out of power. That is a arithmetic proposition, which I had predicted, and it turned out to be true. They would have gained 35 seats. All they needed was one more seat to come to power. Simple arithmetic suggests. Now, the point is, a lot of people say elections are fought not only on arithmetic but also on chemistry. I think some chemistry was already there, but because after all, they had a Lok Sabha alliance, and both were members of the India bloc. So it's not that there was zero chemistry, but at the same time, the alliance was not held because of, as I argued, the pure arrogance of, in a way, of Arvind Kejriwal. He was so sure of winning. So that's one part of the story. And as a result, today, both the parties are shattered. The Congress now is acting arrogant. Remember, the Congress has done quite pathetically in Delhi assembly election. The Congress has got 0 seats in 3 consecutive assembly elections in Delhi. This was the same Congress, the party of, once dominant party in the country. This is the same party that brought India independence, which had, tall prime ministers like Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and that same party has got 0 in 3 consecutive Delhi assembly election. This same party had Sheila Dikshit as the chief minister, who won consecutively 3 times. In fact, she was unseated by Arvind Kejriwal in 2013, and this time, one could say almost ironically, her son Sandeep Dikshit ended up getting more votes than the tight margin between Arvind Kejriwal and Pravesh Verma of the BJP. Pravesh Verma won and Arvind Kejriwal lost. So in a way, he took Arvind Kejriwal, he sort of, a lot of people say Sandeep Dikshit ne badla liya against Arvind Kejriwal for defeating his mother. So that is one part of the story. The other part of the story is the fall from grace of Arvind Kejriwal. I mean, my earlier video was the rise and fall of Arvind Kejriwal. Let me talk about a little bit beyond the numbers about what went wrong with Arvind Kejriwal. This is the same man who at one time would sit in a Wagoner and it would be raining, in fact, heavily in Delhi, and he would say, from here, I'm going to govern Delhi. This is the image of 2012, 2013. This was a man who basically, with the help of the Anna movement, fought in a great image he sort of gave at that time of India against corruption. And that the fact that he was going to clean up Delhi away from, the kind of corruption that had happened during the games that had taken place at that time when Sheila Dikshit was the chief minister. So the same Arvind Kejriwal, what happened to him? What went wrong? First term, he came with sort of, big time education reforms, health reforms, free water, free electricity for the poor, uh, free water for the poor and others. At the same time, later on, he came up with this formula of giving free rides in the public transport to poor women. All that made him so popular. But two things, I mean, because we don't have the time, the fact that he spent what, almost 40 crores trying to build this Sheesh Mahal, the chief minister's bungalow, that was one image that voters could not forget. And of course, the BJP rubbed it in. They made sure that the Sheesh Mahal image of Arvind Kejriwal carried on, and people hated that. And the worst was the liquor scam. And we all know what happened in the liquor scam. We know how Arvind Kejriwal, the ED, the Enforcement Directorate, had given 9 summons to Arvind Kejriwal. He would not meet the EED. And finally, when he did, he was incarcerated. He was in the jail for about 5 months. Atishi became the chief minister. She replaced him. By the way, she has won this election, as most of you know. So Arvind Kejriwal and his top leadership, Manish Sisodia, the other leaders, one can go on citing names about all of them, most of them who are in jail, have lost election. Even people like Saurabh Bhardwaj, who at one time people thought he is going to win, he lost elections. Several others, of the gang of Kejriwal, who were all sort of implicated in the liquor scam, almost all lost their elections. So the picture is this Arvind Kejriwal, the Arvind Kejriwal who was supposed to be a corruption crusader, and then he turned out to be, sort of allegedly, even though the ED has not found any evidence, but there is a case against him. The Supreme Court had given him time to campaign during Lok Sabha and right now, but obviously he still faces the case. And all kinds of speculations are there. In fact, the Prime Minister, when he spoke yesterday, post the victory, he said that they are going to investigate into all the corruption deals, and whoever is found guilty will go to jail. And so Arvind Kejriwal's sort of future dangles in an entire despair. He was the voice of hope. Today he's become the picture of despair. And we don't know what will happen to Arvind Kejriwal. Obviously, this is a real sharp fall of Arvind Kejriwal, something he did not expect. And what will happen to AAP? Can it revive itself? That question depends on whether it can have an alliance with Congress in the future. By itself, I don't think the AAP is in a position to revive itself in the next 5 years in Delhi, let alone what will happen to AAP in Punjab is a story that I'll tell in another video. But the AAP is facing the worst crisis ever in the history of the party, which again I had made a previous video on that how Arvind Kejriwal is facing the toughest test of his life, and obviously clearly he failed in that. And then there is finally a third part of the story, and the third part of the story is this phenomenal saffron surge. The fact that although most analysts who concentrate on AAP, or the spokespersons for AAP that I sort of met of several yesterday I was in the TV9 studios and we were analyzing the polls, and they all harped on one thing, that the difference between the AAP vote and the BJP vote is a mere 2+%, very small. But that's not the story. The story is that in 2020, the BJP was 15% behind AAP. 15%. The BJP's vote percentage was basically in 2020, the BJP had 39% vote. The AAP had 54% vote. So a 15% difference. And this time in 2025, the BJP has 46% vote, which is a jump of 7%. 7% positive swing for the BJP. In fact, I don't think it's exactly 39, it is 38. So the jump is more than 7%, almost 7.5% for the BJP, which is a massive positive swing. And of the AAP had almost 54% vote in 2020 in Delhi. Today they have 44% vote. So it's like a negative swing of 10%. This is the story. This is what we would call, a, a, one could call it a tsunami for the BJP, a wave, a great wave for the BJP, a saffron surge. And this is the story. Why has it happened? The BJP had been out of power from Delhi for the last 27 years. They have come back to power on what most people claimed when we talked to BJP leaders yesterday and other days. They told us the story of the Modi guarantees. The Modi guarantees replicated almost all of AAP's welfare policies for the poor people, for women, for education, for health. On top of that, the Prime Minister himself gave a personal guarantee that if there is a double engine government in Delhi, he is going to make Delhi a world-class city. There'll be attempts to clean up the Yamuna, which keeps stinking. Remember the drama that Arvind Kejriwal created on that when he said that Haryana, the leaders of the Chief Minister of Haryana, Mr. Saini, or the authorities in Haryana, they were poisoning Yamuna. And then he challenged everyone to drink the water of Yamuna. The truth is that all parties are implicated in that, but because Arvind Kejriwal was the incumbent and he had a government for the last 10 years, and despite a huge budget, not much attempt was made to clean up Yamuna, except during Chhath, they would do a little bit of work on the Yamuna, sort of beside the river, to make sure that the voters from Purvanchal, the voters from Eastern UP and Bihar, they are able to do their Chhath. But other than that, no serious attempt was made to clean up the Yamuna. And that's not only one. There were no infrastructural development, the type that Sheila Dikshit did when she was the Chief Minister of Delhi for 3 consecutive terms. Not, the water logging, a typical problem in Delhi, and then lack of water still continues in Delhi. Even electricity during the summer months is quite intermittent. It is not. It reminds people that you don't live in one of the top capital cities of the world. So, and so many other things. I mean, the crazy traffic. Despite everything, no attempt made to ensure that there are rules when you drive, the fumes when you're driving. There are no toilets on the main roads of Delhi. So if you're driving from Gurgaon to Noida, it might take you 2.5 hours. There are not one single toilet on the way. I mean, one could go on and on. None of this Kejriwal and the AAP paid attention to, despite the fact that they talked about some reforms in education and health. So obviously, when you don't perform, the voters boot you out, and that's what has happened to Arvind Kejriwal. But what is the takeaway from here? The most important takeaway is, the BJP has now the responsibility of Delhi, and the MCD is under AAP. So the BJP might start a war now with the MCD, the new government. We will see. In the same way that Arvind Kejriwal would start a war with the LG, the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. and that kind of brings in a stalemate. The work doesn't get completed. And number two, as Prime Minister pointed out, cleaning up Yamuna is not easy. He pointed out how they have been trying to clean up the Ganga ever since Rajiv Gandhi, and it is still an ongoing process. So that will take time. But the most important lesson for the India bloc is: divided you fall, united you stand. If Congress and AAP does not come together in Delhi, or the Congress doesn't come together with its other allies in the other states, they are going to face many more such major obstacles in its attempt to put up an alternative to the BJP. Almost all the India alliance partners seem to be underestimating the Bharatiya Janata Party's electoral strength, its electoral might, its organizational size, and its voter management, booth management at the booth level. That is something, unless the India alliance partners learn from there is no hope for an alternative government, either at the center or in the state assembly elections that is going to happen after Delhi. Let me end here. Thank you very much, and we'll make many more such videos. Thank you.